Productivity. Be more productive. Do more today and get more done. We're told that all the time. That's the normal. And it seems to make sense that if we want more results, we've got to do more. We've got to be more productive, right? Well, not necessarily. And that's actually not the case, as you're about to find out. So in this episode, you're going to discover why being more productive is actually what's keeping you stuck in your business. Welcome. I'm Joe Silva, host of the Joe Silva Business Show. That makes sense, right? I guess I'm in the right spot. And so are you. If you're a driven entrepreneur who is ready to do more in your business, then you are in the right spot. And today, we're getting right to it. No intro, no music, no voiceover guy, none of that. We're getting right to the point. And that point today is about productivity and how being more productive is actually a backward strategy. We're told from a very young age, right? I was too. I followed this for a long, long time. And virtually everybody is told, do more, right? Wake up early. The early bird gets the worm, right? Go drink your caffeine and get through the day. Stay up late. You've got to do more. Make a to-do list and take care of everything on that to-do list that you possibly can throughout the day, right? You've got to want it. You've got to do more. If you're not going to go all out in your business, then you don't deserve to succeed. Have you ever heard that before? Am I right? That's the common perception out there. But that's backwards. Doing more in your business, as you're about to find out, will lead you to a place of nowhere. Let's look at an example, all right? Let's get out of business for a second. Let's say, for example, just suppose that you're hosting Thanksgiving dinner, all right? So it's in November. Thanksgiving is at your house. And you wake up bright and early. Well, maybe that's bright and early for some, but likely if you're an entrepreneur, 8 a.m. isn't too bright and early. But let's say you get up at 8 a.m. Maybe you slept in that day, actually. But you get up at 8 a.m. Dinner's not until 6 p.m. So you've got plenty of time to get prepared. But you start your day, and you stay busy all day long. You stay productive all day long. You're cleaning the house. You're organizing the closets. You're shining the silverware. You're setting the table. You're putting out the glasses and the napkins. You're getting everything. It takes you all day long. And 6 o'clock rolls around. You've been busy. You've been productive. You've done so much. You've checked off tons of things on your to-do list. But you forgot the turkey. There's no turkey dinner on Thanksgiving. But hey, you were productive all day. How does that work? So the next holiday rolls around, right? The next year comes. It's Thanksgiving again. This time you're determined to be more productive. So you wake up at 6 a.m. this time. You're up earlier, right? You push dinner back to 8 p.m. So you've got an even longer day to do more, to be more productive. So you're up early. You're cleaning the house more, right? You organize 2 closets that day. You're setting out the celery and the carrots. You can stay busy and quote-unquote productive all day long from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You're mopping the floors. You're shining the windows. You're power washing the deck. Whatever else you can do, you can be busy and productive, so it appears productive, all day long. You had even more time to do more stuff. Still no turkey. Why is that? What happened here? Consider this. It's not about being more productive and fitting more into your day. It's about focusing on the right activity. It's about focusing on what moves the needle, what drives that day. It's not about doing busy work and being quote-unquote productive. It's about meaningful work, meaningful activity. And in this example of Thanksgiving, that was making the turkey. And you can be productive all day long without doing what matters. So you can see how easy it is to fool ourselves into thinking, well, just because we're productive, that means I'm doing a lot. I'm doing what needs to be done. And the more productive I can be, the more I'll get done. Well, that doesn't necessarily matter, as you can see from our example. So the more productive you get, the more you may do, but the more you do, the more you're pulled away from what really matters, whether you're making a turkey or whether you're a business entrepreneur. So more productive means more to do. More to do means less time on what matters. That's what we're talking about here today. So let's look at it this way. There's a client who I was helping one-to-one with some coaching work. So I do some one-to-one coaching at times. And this particular person was in a sales field. And this story takes me back a little bit, but it's a perfect example of what we're discussing today. So this person, they were really good at the networking part of selling. Okay, so they could interact with people, build that rapport, get to know them. They were remarkable. One of the best I'd ever seen at that. You put them in a networking event and they'll work the room and they'll go around there and they'll meet people and they'll follow up and they would produce that way. Okay. What this person didn't enjoy was dialing the phone and making those calls and trying to book those appointments, just basically cold calling over the phone. Just didn't work. Wasn't in this person's interest to do that. They just didn't enjoy it. They weren't dialed in when they were doing it. Dialed in, that's a nice pun for dialing the phone. I didn't even realize. But anyways, they weren't, that wasn't their zone of genius, right? Their genius, their work, their craft was that one-to-one connection in front of people, in person, not over the phone, okay? Now, somebody they worked with, right, another person in their organization, we'll call him Billy. Billy was fantastic on the phone. This was Billy's zone of genius, right? Almost the exact opposite. Billy had really no interest in going out and schmoozing and doing the whole, passing the cards out at the networking group and doing all that stuff, right? Billy had no interest in that, but Billy was phenomenal on the phone, right? Billy would show up, dial a few calls, and already had the rapport over the phone, had strategically selected who to call. Billy was a genius over the phone at making sales. And so what I'm getting at here is the first person that I was coaching, that person could go into the office and dial the phone from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. all day long and hating every minute of it. They could work through a list. And if you looked at their activity that day, you'd say, wow, they're very, very productive. They got a lot done here. They made, 500 dials throughout the day and probably set like 3 appointments. But anyway, this person did a lot of activity, and it even was almost disguised as activity that they maybe should be doing because it was sales related, right? It wasn't exactly their zone of genius, what they want to focus on, but it was related. And so it was a little sneaky that way. But if you just looked at the stats, you'd say that person was productive, yet they had nothing to show for it. Again, because of their lack of interest in that, right? That energy portrayed through over the phone, and they weren't making any appointments or any sales over the phone. And believe me, that is a huge part of anything you do, is your demeanor, your body language, your tonality. All of that is scientifically proven to have more impact than the actual words you say. And so this person spent all day long dialing and not so smiling, but they were dialing with no results. Now, Billy literally would show up for about maybe 45 minutes and close more business than anybody else in the office in that short amount of time. Then they get up and leave. Who was more productive that day? Who was more productive? The person that dials all day long for 8 hours with a few appointments, but had a lot of activity, or Billy, who shows up, barely spends any time there, a little nonchalant about everything, but is dialed in to Billy's zone of genius and is closing deals left and right during the time that they're there. Now, if I'm running that business, I'll take Billy all day long. I don't care if the person works 1 hour or 10, the results matter. And the reason Billy was getting the results and my coaching client was not in that case was because of where their focus was. Their zone of genius. What were they doing? Did they enjoy it? Did they love it? And that shows through in everything you do. And so in business, in our business, in your business in particular, if you're listening to this as an entrepreneur who's doing all the stuff, how much time are you spending doing all the stuff around you that's not in your zone of genius? That's not lighting you up, because that's shining through. That's showing, whether you realize it or not, your customers, your vendors, your employees, anybody around you can tell what's important to you and what's not. So as a business, it's not about the numbers of hours you put in, right? As a business owner, you're not paid by the hour. Nobody's writing you a check based on the hour. That's an employee mindset. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're an employee, right? That's the way things work, paid by the hour. As a business, as an entrepreneur, you realize at this point that you need the identity and mindset of an entrepreneur, knowing what your zone of genius is and where to focus your attention versus just putting in the work, putting in the hours, and being more quote unquote productive. Now, I know what you're saying right now. You're listening to this and you might be thinking, well, I don't know what that is. I just go through my business day to day. I'm putting out the fires. I'm doing all this stuff. I can barely breathe. How am I supposed to figure out what moves the needle? What is my zone of genius? Well, that's a question only you can answer. But it's not so difficult when you start to think about it. You do know the answer. You started your business for a reason. You're in your field. You're in your activity, whatever your business is. You're in that space for a purpose, are you not? You started your business to make some sort of impact, to reach some sort of audience, and to provide a service or resource or result for those that you serve. So you do have that purpose. As you can see, that is inside of you. Go back to that place. Think about that purpose. Know it. Live it daily. And that is where you are in your zone of genius. What's moving the needle and making a deeper impact on the lives all around you. Whether that's your employees, your staff, your vendors, your customers, or those that you're just making connections with. Whoever that is, when you live in your zone of genius as your entrepreneur, when you get into that identity, that is what moves the needle. That is what's picked up by those out there. And that is what will grow your business. Not doing the emails, not working on your website, not doing the stuff that is outside of your expertise, outside of your zone of genius. That stuff is just busy work. It may look productive. You may feel tired and quote unquote productive at the end of the day, but how productive was that really? Because business, as you know, is more than just staying busy. Being busy is keeping you stuck. Being busy is an excuse to stay small and not reach your full potential. But you didn't get into business to stay small. You didn't get into business to hold back. It took courage. It took drive. It took gumption. It took a lot of things for you to start your business as an entrepreneur. When you go back into that identity, when you feel that fully, now you know what's driving you forward. So it's time you focus on what matters and step into that purpose, that identity that you created when you started your business. And again, you might be thinking, well, how can I do that? I've got all this stuff to do. And that's what we talk about when we say the 3 steps of creating your business is your purpose, right? That identity that you're living. Who are you being inside your business? That identity, are you creating the processes and systems around your business, right? So you have purpose and process and people that I've talked about before. So that purpose is your identity. The process, do you have systems that are running seamlessly and you're surrounding yourself with the right people that make a difference in your business? Building that team. Building that business you always wanted, not the business that you thought you had to have temporarily where you're doing everything yourself. When you have a team around you, that's the fastest way to grow your business. When you have the processes in place, that's the fastest way to grow your business. When you have your purpose in place, that is by far the fastest way to grow your business. So you combine those three things, your purpose, the process, and the people around you. And now you're well beyond being productive and you're making impact. So do you want the easy way to keep doing things the hard way, right? Which I just said the opposite words, but let's think about this. The easy way is actually the hard way in the long term, right? It's easy right now to keep doing things yourself. It's easy right now to say, well, I can't hire anybody. I don't know how to build a team. Do you want to keep doing it that way, which is hurting your long-term growth, your long-term dreams? Or do you want to build a real foundation for your business? Ask yourself, are you in this for the long term? Because feeling wiped out all the time, right? Missing your family events, right? You probably have kids you want to see sometimes, I would imagine, and not work on your business. You probably have a spouse or a significant other or whatever it would be, or other family members that actually need you in the relationship rather than having you spend 24 hours a day in your business doing all the stuff. Do you want it the short-term easy way, or do you want the long-term foundation that will pay dividends over and over again for the rest of your life? Productivity is keeping you stuck. It's not about being more productive. It's about focusing on your genius that will move you light years ahead. And after we're done with this episode, you realize that now. You're starting to notice that now, that yes, productivity, I may be busy, but am I busy on the right things? Am I focusing on my zone of genius? That's where the impact happens. And that's where the difference happens. And that's exactly why you started your business in the first place. I'm willing to bet that. All right. If you're interested in more of how to do that, how do I build my team? How do I create my purpose and put the processes in place so that I can focus on myself? Go to my website, joesovatraining.com. There's free resources there. Click the resources tab, and you'll get the free resources you need to start that journey about building your team and really focusing yourself on what matters without just being productive, but focusing on your zone of genius and what matters and why you got it in the business in the first place. So check that out, joesovatraining.com. Go there right now. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you'll want to do that as well. So as always, thank you for listening. We'll come back to you with more on the next episode. I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.